The pharmacy was unusually quiet for a Thursday afternoon. I stood at the counter, watching the fluorescent lights flicker above the prescription pickup station. Monica had insisted on driving me here after my checkup. Said she wanted to make sure Dad got everything sorted out. She'd been doing that a lot lately. Making sure Mr. Fletcher, the pharmacist, a woman in her 50s with reading glasses on a chain, looked up from her computer screen. Her name tag read Diane. "That's me," I said, sliding my insurance card across the counter. Monica stepped closer, her hand on my elbow. "He's here for his blood pressure medication refill. Dr. Winters called it in yesterday." Diane's fingers moved across the keyboard, then stopped. She looked at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen. "Just one moment," she said quietly. Something in her tone made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. 38 years running a construction company teaches you when someone's choosing their words carefully. Monica squeezed my arm. "Is there a problem? I need to verify something with the doctor's office," Diane said. She picked up the phone, her eyes never leaving the screen. "It'll just take a minute." Monica's smile didn't reach her eyes. "We're kind of in a hurry. Dad has an appointment." "It'll just take a minute," Diane repeated. Firmer this time. I watched her dial, watched her turn slightly away from the counter, watched her lips move in a conversation I couldn't quite hear. When she hung up, she wasn't looking at Monica anymore. She was looking at me. "Mr. Fletcher, would you mind stepping over to the consultation window, privately?" I didn't know it yet, but she wasn't calling for verification. She was calling 911. It had started 6 months ago, right after the dizzy spell. I'd been in the garage, reorganizing my toolbox, something to keep busy after Margaret passed, when the room tilted sideways. Next thing I knew, I was on the concrete floor with Monica crouched over me, her phone already dialing 911. Margaret had been gone 8 months by then. 43 years of marriage, ended by pancreatic cancer that moved faster than either of us expected. The garage had become my refuge. Her scent still lingered in the house. Lavender soap and coffee, and sometimes the silence was too loud. "Dad, you can't live alone anymore," Monica had said in the hospital. Derek, her husband, stood behind her with his arms crossed, his realtor's smile nowhere in evidence. "What if you'd hit your head? What if no one had found you?" The thing was, I had hit my head. 6 stitches along my temple proved it. The ER doctor said I was lucky. Another inch, and I might not have woken up. "I'm fine," I'd told them, though my skull throbbed, and the fluorescent lights made my eyes water. Doctor said my blood pressure spiked. "New medication, and I'll be good as new." "You're 72, Dad." Monica's voice had that careful patience people use with children. "Mom isn't here to watch out for you anymore. We need to think about your safety." She wasn't wrong. The house felt too big now. Too many rooms I didn't use. Too many memories in every corner. But Monica had already been planning. She showed up 3 days later with papers, before I'd even gotten the stitches removed. "Just some power of attorney stuff," she said, spreading them across my kitchen table, the same table where Margaret and I used to do crossword puzzles on Sunday mornings. "So if something happens, I can handle your medical decisions. You know, like Mom did for Grandpa. Sign here, here, and here. Initial here." Her manicured nail tapped each flagged section. The documents were thick. Legal-size paper. Small print. My reading glasses were upstairs. "I should probably read through, Dad." Her voice had an edge I'd heard before, usually reserved for her kids when they tested boundaries. "Do you want to end up like Mrs. Patterson down the street? Her kids couldn't make decisions when she had that stroke. She was on life support for 3 weeks while they fought in court. Do you want that for me? Fighting lawyers while you're dying." I'd known Martha Patterson for 20 years. Built her deck in '98. Watched them unplug her, while her family screamed at each other in the hospital corridor, arguing over DNRs and inheritances. Monica pushed a pen into my hand. "It's standard stuff, every responsible parent does this. Mom would want you protected." That's what got me. Mom would want you protected. Margaret had always been the one who handled paperwork, who read every word of every contract. She'd have known what to look for. But Margaret was gone. I signed. Over the next few months, Monica signed me up for meal delivery, hired a cleaning service, helped me organize my filing cabinet, took half my documents home for safekeeping. "You're too stressed, Dad," she'd say. "Let me handle the paperwork." And I'd been grateful. That's the thing that burned most. I'd been grateful. Diane led me to a small consultation room off to the side. Through the window I could see Monica pacing near the cosmetics aisle, her phone pressed to her ear. "Mr. Fletcher," Diane said carefully, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." My chest tightened. "What's wrong with my prescription?" "There's nothing wrong with your blood pressure medication. That's ready for pickup." She pulled out a printout. "But according to your insurance, you're also supposed to be picking up haloperidol, lorazepam and quetiapine, high doses. Did Dr. Winters prescribe those?" I stared at the words. They meant nothing to me. What are those for?" Diane's expression shifted. "They're antipsychotics, sedatives. The combination and dosage would be appropriate for someone with severe dementia or psychotic episodes." She leaned forward. "Have you been experiencing confusion, hallucinations, memory loss?" "Episodes," she'd said. "A word that could erase a man. No, I'm 72, not." The words died in my throat. When I called Dr. Winter's office, they said they never prescribed these medications. They said your daughter called yesterday, claiming you were having episodes. She said you'd agreed to start treatment, but were too embarrassed to come in yourself. The room felt smaller, hotter. She told them you'd authorized her to handle your medical decisions, that you'd signed comprehensive power of attorney documents 6 months ago. Just some power of attorney stuff. Sign here, here, and here. "Mr. Fletcher, do you understand what these medications would do to you?" I understood. I understood perfectly. If I'd been taking those pills for even a few weeks, I'd be drooling in a chair, confused, incoherent. Exactly the kind of man who needed his daughter to make decisions for him. Exactly the kind of man who couldn't manage his own affairs. "I need to make a phone call," I said quietly. Malcolm Reeves had handled the paperwork when I sold my company 3 years ago. Fletcher Construction, 38 years of building schools, hospitals, office complexes across 3 states. Malcolm was expensive, precise, and didn't waste time on small talk, which is why I trusted him. "Howard," he said when he picked up. I could hear traffic in the background. "What can I do for you?" "I need you to pull something for me." Power of attorney documents I signed in September. My daughter brought them over after I had a fall. Keyboard clicking in the background. "Hold on, let me check your file." A pause. More clicking. "I don't have any POA documents for you on file. You sure you wanted me to draft them?" "They wouldn't be. Monica had them drawn up through, I don't remember. Some attorney friend of Derek's," she said. My throat felt tight. "Malcolm, I think I might have made a mistake." More clicking. Then silence. The kind of silence lawyers use when they're calculating bad news. "Howard, did you read what you signed?" The question hung in the air like smoke, like the dust from a building mid-demolition. "I trusted her," I said. "She's my daughter. She said it was standard. She said Margaret would have wanted." "That's not what I asked." I looked out the window at my truck in the driveway. The same truck I'd driven to job sites for 15 years. Paid off, title in my name, or it had been. "No," I admitted. "I didn't read it." Through the consultation room window, I could see Monica still on her phone. Her free hand gestured sharply. Angry. "I need to know what I signed," I said. "Bring me copies of everything. Every document. If she took papers from your house, I need to know what's missing. Deeds, titles, stock certificates, account statements, everything." Malcolm's voice had shifted into the tone he used in depositions when he was building a case. "I need to see exactly what you signed. The language matters. Comprehensive POA versus limited, durable versus springing, financial versus medical. I don't know what half those words mean." "That's the problem. Your daughter did." I watched Monica through the window. She'd hung up her phone and was walking back toward the pharmacy entrance, checking on me. "Malcolm, what's the worst case here?" He didn't sugarcoat it. Never did. "Worst case, if you signed comprehensive durable POA with a certification of incapacity, she has legal authority to make every financial and medical decision on your behalf. She can sell your house, liquidate your accounts, put you in a facility, all while acting as your legal representative. And if it's properly executed, it's very hard to challenge." My hands had gone cold. "And those medications, if you'd been taking them for a few weeks, you'd be exactly incapacitated enough to validate whatever she claimed. It's chemical restraint, Howard, elder abuse, possibly fraud, but proving intent is complicated. How do we stop her? First, we get ahead of this. Don't sign anything else. Don't tell her you're coming to see me. Don't tell her anything. If she's planning what I think she's planning, confrontation will accelerate her timeline." "She's my daughter," I said, and hated how weak it sounded. "That's why I'm saying it." I waited until Monica went to her book club Tuesday evening. She'd offered to check on Dad the next morning, which meant I had maybe 12 hours. The key to my filing cabinet was in my desk drawer. But when I pulled the drawer open, the key wasn't in its usual spot. It was sitting on top of the folders. Recently used. My hands weren't steady as I unlocked the cabinet. Years of records, organized by Margaret before she passed. Tax returns, mortgage papers, the deed to the house, stock certificates. Half of it was gone. The deed was missing. So were the stock certificates. 40 years of carefully managed investments. The trust documents Margaret and I had set up for the grandkids. The title to my truck. What remained was a thin folder labeled medical in Monica's handwriting. Inside were intake forms for Riverside Memory Care. 3 different facilities, all with brochures highlighting their compassionate dementia care. Each form was partially filled out. My name, my date of birth, my diagnosis. Early onset Alzheimer's, progressing rapidly. The signature line was blank. Waiting. At the bottom of the folder was a printout from a real estate website. My house, listed as coming soon with an estimated value of $840,000. The agent's name was Derek Fletcher. Malcolm didn't look surprised when I spread the documents across his desk. He looked angry. The kind of controlled anger that made him dangerous in a courtroom. "This power of attorney is comprehensive," he said, flipping through pages with the focus I'd seen him use on contract disputes. "Medical, financial, property. Durable, effective immediately. It gives her authority to make every decision on your behalf if you're deemed incapacitated by a licensed physician." "Am I? Incapacitated?" "According to this physician's certification, yes." He held up a form with an official-looking seal. "Dr. Raymond Cho, geriatric psychiatrist. He examined you on October 12th and determined you lack capacity to manage your affairs due to progressive cognitive decline. October 12th. I checked my phone calendar. That was a Thursday. I'd been at the hardware store buying wood stain, had lunch at the diner, watched the Mariners lose to the Yankees. I've never met a Dr. Cho in my life. Malcolm made a note on his legal pad, the pen moving in sharp, precise strokes. "That's fraud, medical fraud. Specifically, possibly elder abuse under State Statute 74.34. The medications are attempted." He paused, choosing words carefully. "Let's call it chemical restraint with intent to incapacitate. If you'd been taking them for even 2 weeks, you'd have been exactly what this certification claims you already are." He pulled out another document from my stack. The Riverside Memory Care intake form. Read it silently, his jaw tightening. "They were going to commit you," he said quietly. "Get you drugged, confused, validate the diagnosis, then transfer you to secured memory care. Once you're behind locked doors with staff administering medications, you're effectively gone. No judge, no family member. No one questions the daughter with comprehensive POA who's doing what's best for Dad." How long would it have taken? 6 weeks, maybe 8. By Thanksgiving you'd have been a different person. I thought about the pills, about how close I'd come. The missing documents, Malcolm said. The deed, the stocks. If she has comprehensive POA and a certification of incapacity, she can transfer those assets. Sell your house, liquidate your accounts. All legally, as long as the paperwork looks legitimate. How do we stop her? We file for emergency relief, revoke the POA immediately. But Howard, he looked at me over his reading glasses. If we do this, there's no going back. Your daughter will know you know. Through the window, I could see the downtown office buildings where I used to meet with clients, where I'd built something that lasted. She tried to drug me into a nursing home so she could sell my house. I said quietly, "There's already no going back." Malcolm's associate, a sharp woman named Claire, came to my house to install the cameras. Tiny things, hidden in the bookshelf, the kitchen clock, the smoke detector in the hallway. If she comes back to take more documents, or pressure you into signing anything, we'll have it on record, Claire explained. Don't engage, don't argue, just let her talk. Monica showed up Thursday morning with coffee and muffins. "You look tired, Dad," she said, setting the bag on the kitchen counter. "Are you sleeping okay? Well enough? Because I was thinking, maybe it's time we talked about the house. This is a lot of space for one person. And the stairs, what if you fall again? I'm managing fine." She pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos. "There's a really nice assisted living place near us. I took some pictures. Look, they have a garden. You'd have your own apartment, but there'd be staff if you needed help." I looked at the photos. Clean rooms, supervised medication, locked memory care wing in the background. "I'm not interested." Her smile tightened. "Dad, you're not thinking clearly. That's why we set up the POA, remember? So when you couldn't make good decisions, I could help. I remember. Then you understand. Derek's already talked to a real estate agent. The market's good right now. We could get the house sold quickly, get you settled somewhere safe." She reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "I'm doing this for you." The camera in the kitchen clock recorded every word. The court hearing for emergency relief was scheduled for Monday at 9 a.m. On Sunday evening, just after sunset, Derek showed up at my door. No Monica. No phone call warning me he was coming. Just Derek in his Mercedes, parking in the driveway like he owned it. "We need to talk," he said when I opened the door. I let him in. The cameras Claire had installed were rolling. Kitchen clock, bookshelf, smoke detector, 3 angles. "Monica's upset," he began, pacing my living room like he was staging it for a showing. He'd always done that. Evaluated rooms with a realtor's eye. Square footage, natural light, resale value. "She's been trying to help you, and you're making this difficult." "Difficult how?" The pharmacy called her. "Said you're refusing your medications, that you're acting paranoid, accusing her of." He stopped, chose different words. "Howard, we're worried about you." The confusion, the anger, the accusations, these are symptoms of what, you know what. He said it gently, kindly. "The way you talk to someone fragile." Dr. Cho explained it all in his report. "Early cognitive decline, it's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens. My own grandfather went through the same thing." "I've never met Dr. Cho." "You have last October. You don't remember. That's part of the problem, Howard. That's exactly what we're trying to address." Derek sat down on the couch. Margaret's couch, the one she'd picked out 30 years ago, blue fabric with white piping. "Listen, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. The easy way is you sign the house over now. We get you into care and everyone's taken care of. The hard way." He let the sentence hang, waited for me to ask. "What's the hard way?" His expression didn't change. "The hard way is we go to court. We show the judge the medical reports, the pharmacy incident, the paranoia. We have you declared incompetent, and the POA kicks in automatically. Either way, we're getting you the help you need." Derek spoke like this was already decided, like I was paperwork that hadn't been filed yet. And the house gets sold either way. The money goes to your care. Does it? Something flickered across his face. What's that supposed to mean? I looked at this man who'd married my daughter 12 years ago, who'd called me pops at weddings and holidays, who'd asked for my advice when he started his real estate business. It means Monday morning, my attorney files to revoke the power of attorney. He's also filing a police report for fraud, elder abuse, and attempted poisoning. Derek stood slowly. You don't want to do this. It's already done, Howard. His voice dropped. You really think a judge will believe a confused old man over his own daughter, over medical professionals, over documented evidence of decline? He leaned closer. Who do you think they'll believe? The camera in the bookshelf captured every word. I guess we'll find out, I said. The judge was a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and reading glasses that kept sliding down her nose. This is a petition for emergency revocation of power of attorney, she said, flipping through Malcolm's filing, on grounds of fraud and abuse. Monica sat at the other table with her attorney, a nervous man who kept checking his phone. Derek was in the gallery, his face unreadable. Your Honor, Malcolm began, my client was fraudulently diagnosed by a psychiatrist he never met. His daughter used that diagnosis to obtain comprehensive POA, then attempted to administer antipsychotic medications that would have incapacitated him. She removed property documents from his home and made plans to liquidate his assets, including listing his house for sale. Monica's attorney stood. Your Honor, this is clearly a case of an elderly man experiencing paranoia and confusion. My client has been trying— I have the pharmacy records, Malcolm interrupted. I have Dr. Winter's sworn statement that he never prescribed those medications. I have verification that Dr. Cho's examination never occurred. And I have recordings. The judge looked up. Recordings? Claire handed over the tablet. The judge pressed play. Either way, we're getting you the help you need. And the house gets sold either way. The money goes to your care. Does it? The courtroom was silent except for Derek's voice. Tinny but clear. You really think a judge will believe a confused old man over his own daughter? The judge removed her glasses. I'd like to see all medical documentation, Dr. Cho's examination notes, the diagnosis, everything. Monica's attorney fumbled with his briefcase. We'll need to request those from you. Don't have them. Dr. Cho's office has been difficult to reach. Malcolm smiled thinly. That's because Dr. Cho's medical license was suspended 8 months ago. He's currently under investigation for falsifying disability certifications in exchange for payment. The implications hung in the air. Your Honor, Malcolm continued. We're requesting immediate revocation of POA, return of all removed documents and property, a restraining order preventing contact, and a full investigation by Adult Protective Services. The judge looked at Monica. Does your client wish to respond? Monica's attorney whispered something to her. She shook her head, staring at the table. Motion granted. The judge said, all of it. 3 months later, I stood in Monica's old bedroom. She'd lived here until she was 23. Pink walls she'd painted herself in high school. Scratches on the windowsill from the time she'd snuck out to see a concert. The criminal investigation was ongoing. Monica and Derek's attorney said they were cooperating fully in exchange for reduced charges. The house hadn't been listed. The stocks were back in my name. The filing cabinet was locked. And this time I was the only one with a key. Adult Protective Services had referred 2 other families to Malcolm. Elderly parents, suspicious medical diagnoses, missing assets. Same pattern. Same Dr. Cho. I walked downstairs to the kitchen, made coffee, sat at the table where Margaret used to do crossword puzzles. Monica had called once, a few weeks ago, left a voicemail I still hadn't deleted. Dad, I know you're angry. We needed the money. Derek's business, the debt. I thought if we just got ahead of things before you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'd saved the message. Not because I'd forgiven her. Not because I planned to call back. Because I wanted to remember exactly how she'd sounded. What words she'd chosen. I thought if we just got ahead of things before you. Before I what? Got too old to stop 'em, died and left them nothing, became inconvenient. The coffee had gone cold. Outside, the neighbor's dog barked. Life went on. I picked up my phone, looked at the voicemail notification, thought about Margaret, about what she would have said. She'd always believed in second chances, in family. But Margaret had never stood in a pharmacy and heard a stranger explain how her own daughter had tried to chemically erase her. I deleted the message. Some things you don't come back from. Some losses aren't accidents. And some signatures, the ones you don't make, are the ones that matter most. I locked the filing cabinet. Then I locked my front door, and for the first time in months, I slept.